Welcome to the GAB Talks by the Independent Press Award. I'm your hostess, Gabby Olzak. To participate in the 2024 Book Award competitions, please visit independentpressaward.com and NewYorkCityBigBookAward.com. Thank you for joining us today. We'll be chatting with Vito DiBarone, author of the YA series Botheration. His debut and first book in the series, Botheration Part 1, The Missing Link, was awarded a distinguished favorite in the 2024 Independent Book Award in the teen category. So during his childhood in New Jersey, Vito was surrounded by books and was particularly drawn to mysteries and science books, astronomy, anthropology, archaeology, geology. In third grade, he even gave a lecture on dinosaurs to his classmates. Vito's love of science and books continued through elementary and high school. He studied physics at Fairleigh Dickinson University. From there, he went on to earn a graduate degree and traveled throughout the United States and abroad as an engineer, developing airplane technology, missiles, and land and water vehicles. Botheration was originally launched as a trilogy. However, Botheration Part 4, Tipping Point, is soon to be published. Botheration Part 1, The Missing Link, Botheration Part 2, Waves of Dinosaurs, and Part 3, Epiphany, is available now. Vito splits his time between Las Vegas and Los Angeles. Congratulations, Vito, and welcome to the GAB Talks.
Thank you, Gabby. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, too. So, Vito, let's get started. Botheration recounts the global adventures of Maddie Weber from teen to college years and beyond. What's the basic theme of the series?
The basic series theme is young adult coming of age, and all the things that happen to kids, in that 14, 15, 16, 17-year span, including trust issues, bullying, and, just trying to figure out who you are and what you want to do. And, I had that same issue, my guidance counselor at high school in New Jersey, he said, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I said, I have no idea. I like so many different types of sciences. And he said, well, hey, let me give you a book. And I had no idea what he was going to give me. And it was a psychology book. And it talked about imprinting, for elephants, how they imprint, the trust gene in an elephant by giving them a tire and having their scent on it. So the elephant kind of associates the tire with, the people. And, so I thought that was wonderful, just another field for me to get lost in.
Oh my gosh. So how has the maxim, write what you know, been a major impetus to the Botheration series?
Well, and I'm going to go back to when I started this, and I really wanted to write for the longest time. And it started when I was in high school, that I actually started writing for my sophomore year teacher. And I was kind of enamored by, not some, the Hardy Boys at that point. I liked the James Bond series.
Okay.
So, and I was kind of using some of the ideas from there, and I wrote two chapters and brought it into my English teacher, and he looked at it over the weekend. And when I got it back, there was more red than than my ink on it, and it was like such a blow to my little ego.
Sure, disappointing.
That I actually stopped writing for a long time, but it kind of pushed me into science more. And it's like I had
majored in physics.
Yeah. And it's like each year, we had biology and in sophomore year in high school, and then chemistry, and then physics in senior year. And each year I wanted to be that type of a scientist. But
that's funny.
At the last year, I finally said, okay, I like physics because there's math in there, and there's also science. And
right.
It's all something I can get into because I'm really good at math, and I like science. And you mentioned about the elementary school. I gave a lecture on dinosaurs.
Yeah. What was the reaction to that?
Oh, well, the kids loved it. In fact, even now, some of the kids, that are kids that are older, and they say, "Oh, how's the dinosaur stuff going?" And I'd say, "Good, good, good." But they didn't realize that I was going to Catholic school. And then the nun came up to me the day after, and she said, "Do you know there never were animals that big on Earth?"
Oh gosh.
so this,
Wow.
it was, anybody else would have just said, "Oh, okay, so I have to back off." But me, I'm kind of headstrong. And
So what did you do?
well, it was weird because I had a whole set of dinosaurs plus books, and my teacher told my parents, Vito has to get rid of all his dinosaurs, his dinosaur books, and give them away so he can do something, more germane to just school. So that hurt because my parents and the teachers were on the same side. So I gave it to my best friend. I don't know what he did with them, but then, it's like nothing ever goes away,
Right.
So and then eventually when I was in school, in college and graduate school, but my mind went back to that. It's like, hey, I love physics and everything, but I really miss, the life sciences, like paleontology and biology, and so I did my own studies while I was working as an engineer. I started out as a physicist, but the work was a little, what's the word, non-existent. So I ended up working as an engineer on the space shuttle.
Wow. Wow. So you touched a lot of different areas in your career. So Botheration is part techno thriller adventure, part teen drama. What makes these stories so special in the YA genre?
Because it's different. It's different from the fact that these kids are really smart, which is not different, but the fact that they are bleeding, their feelings out on the page, that, it's not working. Hey, I really like this girl, but, she doesn't like me. Oh, she smiles at me, so maybe I should do something for her. And that's sort
We're referring to Maddie Weber, who's the main protagonist for our listeners, who has a major crush on Samantha, one of the popular girls, and he's a so-called nerd. So it doesn't really make it so easy. But why is Maddie such a unique kid?
Because his parents actually vaporized in front of his eyes when he was 12 years old. He's 16, and when he was 12, he actually went from the car into the house to get some sodas, and when he came out to give them to his parents, he noticed some smoke and fire, and in the car, which was now all ablaze, his parents couldn't get out, and they just burned in front of him. So this was really traumatic. It took him 4 years to kind of become semi-normal. He went through all this stuff, and the book series starts, with him promising, his grandmother, who he's left with, to become more social, and he has to do it despite the fact that the kids still treat him like a nerd. So he's got to kind of suck it up and then help. And then the biggest thing that starts out this book is that the popular kids come and ask him for a favor. He's not asking for the favor. The popular kids come, and the first thought that he had and his best friend Gabriel had was, they want us to cheat on a test for them or do their homework.
Right. That's what you would assume. That's the usual ask, isn't it?
Right. But that was not it. They had a party. The popular kids had a party, and they
don't give away too much.
No, I'm just saying that, popular kids have parties. And
Yeah.
Maddie gets invited to a post crazy party. So he and his friend Gabriel are there with 3 beautiful teenage girls, and their objective is to convince him that he should be helping them. And
So
then,
I'm sorry.
no, get ahead.
I was going to say, Maddie, there's a quote in the book, and you say, Maddie, he is in constant search of knowledge.
Right.
What is his end goal?
He wants to go to Stanford. His dad went to Stanford, the one that died in the right. And this is his goal. He's been, before the accident, he was doing presentations at major colleges,
And he was 16 years old.
No, he was 12 back then.
Oh, 12, right. Yes, my bad. That's right. Okay.
Oh, and then, it's like, and then after this accident happened with the car, he's, like thrown into the world of medication and drugs and stuff. And there's times when he doesn't even know what's going on because his mind kind of departs and his best friend goes, hey, take this. You're not taking your medication. So
because
that's
he's suffering from post-traumatic stress syndrome.
Yep.
So you're quoted as saying, Vito, I want to share with readers that they are not alone. We all have the same problems. So what are some of the serious issues that you intended to shed light on when you wrote the series?
Well, the first thing is trust. And on the front of that book,
yes.
It
actually on both of them, the first book says what is trust.
Yep.
And actually in part 3, trust.
Because he's still having trouble with understanding trust, and it's so hard for a kid, and I'm sorry if I use that term kid, but it's adults don't realize that children are actually young adults, and they tell them what to do and expect them not to have an opinion of their own, and it's like, how can you trust someone who doesn't trust you? And that's part of the issue that keeps popping up in the stories. And then even to the book I'm working on now, which is Tipping Point, there's these issues that about, somebody says something, do you really believe them? It's like looking at the news. Do I believe that? The history book. And I'm not going to give it away, but from the second book to the third book, and the third book to the fourth book, something very dramatic happens. But when he looks at the history books or the science books, it doesn't show up.
So let me ask you, Vito, and I know our listeners or readers are wondering about this. Do you have to read book 1 first? Can they be read autonomously of each other?
Yes, they can.
Okay.
The only thing that you would miss is some of the character interaction, because the first book I kind of lay down the relationship that Maddie has with Samantha, and then the guys that she interacts, and then Chloe, which I want to make a series out of Chloe, who is she could be the bad girl.
You're excited about that series, so that's what's next. So I understand. Actually, it's interesting that you say you're interested in launching maybe a series about Chloe, because what I've read is that initially your main protagonist was not going to be Maddie Weber. It was actually going to be a female along the lines of Samantha. So why did you switch gears and decide to focus your efforts on a male protagonist?
I did a lot of research before I started writing. And every article said the highest number of readers are girls, followed by women, followed by boys, followed by men.
So you thought let's do a female protagonist.
Right. And I wrote a whole book, and Mary Jane, and I don't remember her last name, and that became Samantha. And when I shopped it around to agents and publishers, first thing they said was, "What do you know about girls?" Which was kind of a mean thing to say.
No, they're right though, because you did say write what you know.
Yeah.
And what do you know?
And then I said, okay, I don't have that hard of a head that I won't make some changes. And what I was rewrote that character into what's now Maddie, and Samantha was still there because I really, really liked her character, and I really wanted to pursue it. I mean, this is the girl that when you're growing up in high school and you're, any type of boy, there's always girls that will stick out in your mind, and it's like, okay. And when I was a kid, there was one girl that I really liked, and I thought, there's no way she'd like me. And then years later,
your Samantha, Vito?
My Samantha. In fact, this lady, and I won't give her name away, but she helped me with some of the editing of the first
book.
Because she, when I was, because in the first book I used point of view, and I move around from Maddie to Gabriel to Samantha to some of the other characters so that the reader can understand what's going on in those other people's minds.
Yeah, that was really interesting that you did that. I enjoyed that.
Good.
So how does Maddie evolve aside from age, starting with book 1 to book now 4?
And I'm going to go back in terms of what I learned from the Hardy Boys. I grew up in East Orange, New Jersey, so my first crush on reading was actually the Hardy Boy books, and
at 10 years old,
right?
The series was gifted to you at 10, right?
Right, and the author was supposedly Franklin W. Dixon, and I kind of really got into that whole series, and then I found out later on this was the Stratemeyer Syndicate, and this same person actually created all the stories for Hardy Boys, Nancy Drew, Tom Swift, a whole slew of books. And, that's what I was kind of using as my starting point. He said he did not want those Hardy Boys to grow any older than 17. So as you read through it, they're evolving, but their age is not changing because he wanted to keep that niche of readers. And I thought, okay, I could do that, but I'm going to make my age a little bit more open. And and there is some things, and when you mentioned about college and stuff, Maddie,
it opens up the storyline if you allow them to age.
Right.
Yeah.
And Maddie does go to college in book 2, but this is, and I don't want to give away that part of the story because
don't.
It is really something what can be done. It's not fiction what he goes through.
Well, you have this from real life experience from your physicist, and so Botheration was conceived as a trilogy, Vito. So how did that? What happened? Book 4 is coming in.
Stop
writing.
It's like everything in life. It's like you meet somebody and you say, I can't really see us, getting married or anything like that. And then you realize, oh man, I'm,
kids later. Yeah.
and I love writing. So and I love these characters, and and I want to write them for a really long time. The only disadvantage to that is it'll take me longer to get to, like a Chloe story. I mean, blind. I'm working on a TV series.
Really?
Yeah, for and this is it's about flat Earth.
Wow.
So that and there's all kinds of neat stuff, and I
So it's not a botheration series.
no, it is not this is something that I kind of ran into because this woman I was getting to know, she was involved in it. At first, I thought it was kind of different.
So Chloe might take a little bit of a backseat for now.
I don't know. I mean, she's right now in Tipping Point. Chloe is back, and then so is this brand new girl called Tupsa. Her nickname is Tippy, and her last name is Carter. She's a cousin of Samantha. So, we're tying in some of the characters, but also kind of weaving it into, this new character, Tippy, who is a expert gymnast that was, on the Olympic team, but she's also bright. And we don't know at this point how bright she is. She's bright, at the same level as Maddie. And that hurts his little ego too.
I'm sure it does. So what was your favorite book to write so far? What was the most fun?
Actually, the first book.
Really? Why is that?
Yeah. Because, it's like, that was totally an exploration. I was feeling my way around it. I went through, I think, 10 drafts.
Wow. Okay.
So that's how much in love with it. And I wanted to make sure that it made sense. And
wanted to get it right.
Right. And then, but then I saw all the openings that I could put into the second book. And dinosaurs, like I mentioned, have always been my, other love. And I wanted to integrate that. And I picked, not to give away anything, but Samantha's younger brother, Freddie, kind of gets in the act. He's 10 years old. And what do 10-year-olds like to do? Create mischief.
Oh, for sure. So, Vito, do you have any advice for aspiring writers, particularly in the YA genre?
Well, number one, trust yourself and trust, again, like you said, go from your strength. It's like
write what you know.
Yeah, it's start with an outline, and I was a pantser. That's the other thing. I started out as a pantser, and I would recommend for a new writer to start that same way, because starting with making an outline and going through it sometimes can dampen your spirits as far as where you're going, because you realize that there are a lot of hurdles you have to get.
Vito, some of our readers might not know, because they might not all be writers, what a pantser is.
Oh, okay. You're writing the seat of your pants. That's what
seat of your pants. Yep. Right. So you recommend writing an outline for sure.
Yeah. And that's what I'm doing now with Tipping Point. Yeah. I worked with one of the writers for Save the Cat. Mm-hmm. And this guy and I spent, 5 months just coming up with how Tipping Point should work. And he kind of said, hey, this needs to be brought out, or you got to do this. And I did the creative heavy lifting. And then when I had that all kind of written out in an outline, I started writing. So right now, I think I'm on chapter 13, and I hope to have this done, by the middle of the year, and then I'll put it into final edit and then publish. It's a labor of love.
Part 4. So you expect maybe by the end of the year?
Oh yeah.
That sounds great. So what would you say your lifelong motto is, Vito?
Say it again.
What is your lifelong motto?
Oh, that's a hard one. My motto is, it's Richard Feynman, one of the physicists that won an Academy Award. He won a Nobel Prize. He said, don't worry about what other people think. You do what.
That's a good one.
And that kind of, kind of sums up how I've been in my life. It's like, somebody might say, do this and do that, but, you have to go with your heart. And, I think that's what everybody that I've ever run into said about me. I'm really smart, but I'm not, hard science smart. I'm more heart smart, where if something really, gets to me, I will, dedicate, time and money and effort to get that taken care of.
Well, that's a wonderful quality, Vito.
Thank you.
Really is. So lastly, Vito, where can our readers find out more about you, purchase all of the Botheration books?
Okay. Amazon.com has everything. I also have a website that's www.maddieweberadventures.com. And then on Twitter, it's Weber_Maddie. And I update that on almost a daily basis. Currently, I have my book at the London Book Fair, and then Bologna in Italy had a book fair, and my books were presented there. Coming up next week is the Los Angeles Times Festival of Books, and I will be featured there and also signing books.
Oh, that's exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's great. So we really look forward to Botheration Part 4.
Yep.
And we are hoping to see Chloe and maybe a Tippy book.
I want to make Chloe a self-contained series, but
okay.
Tippy, I think, is going to, and I'm not going to give this away, but Tippy is going to become more dominant in the series.
Okay.
She's a little girl. She's very feisty and smart, and I don't have the picture of, if you can imagine Jane Fonda as a little girl with braided pigtails, that's Chloe.
That's Chloe. Okay. Well,
I'm sorry.
That's Tippy. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we look forward to hearing more about them. Thank you so much, Vito. This was really a pleasure. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you, Gabby. And thank you, Ted.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate all of your praise.
You're welcome. Well deserved. So join us next podcast when we chat with Jennifer Nash, author of Be Human, Lead Human. This is your hostess, Gabby Olzak. Until next time, keep on talking.